let's open the meeting. Can you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Good evening, and welcome to the May 1st, 2023 meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals, or ZBA. First, let me introduce the members of the ZBA present here this evening. Myself, Chairman Alan Donnelly, Vice Chairman Carl Hanger. Our Secretary, Jana LaForgia, is joining us via telephone this evening. Regular member, Commissioner Naheed Kaiser, is with us this evening. Alternate member, Commissioner, Mr. Richard Briggs, is here this evening. Our Zoning Enforcement Officer, Mr. Fran Lally, is here this evening. Our recording secretary, our new recording secretary, Maria Gallimore, is here this evening. Absent tonight, regular member, Commissioner Lisa Temple, and alternate member commissioners Eliza Hewling and Larry Rushmeyer. The current agenda can be found here at the table or on the town website under board meetings. When we begin the public hearing, I will call each applicant one at a time. When I call the property address, please come forward, state your name and address for the record, and tell us about your appeal in detail. After, the secretary will read into the record any communications we've received in favor or opposed to the application. The chair will then entertain questions of clarification from board members concerning the application. We will then hear from those who wish to speak in favor of the application, followed by those who are opposed. Following each side of the question, the applicant will be allowed to make concluding remarks. After we've gone through all the cases on the agenda tonight, we will close the public portion of this meeting and will deliberate an open executive session. You must have at least 4 affirmative votes to have your appeal granted. The final decision may be in the form of approved as submitted, approved with stipulations, or disapproved. All questions and comments must be directed through the chair. That's myself. Please be assured that everyone will be given the opportunity to speak. However, the board is most interested in hearing factual information relative to the application, and in view of time constraints placed upon us, we ask your indulgence in not reiterating comments previously presented. You are welcome to stay until the end of the meeting or contact the land use office in the morning. Thank you very much. Okay, first thing on the agenda is we're going to review the April 3rd, 2023 minutes. Richard? Yeah, I was just going to ask that. Richard, did you review the minutes from last meeting and look at anything?
Yes, I looked at them.
Thank you, sir. Okay, I'll take a motion to approve the prior minutes.
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you very much. Is there any discussion? I have a little bit, but.
Nothing caught my eye.
I'm good too.
Janet?
No, nothing caught my eye either.
Richard?
No.
Okay. Just a couple little things caught my eye because I'm a stickler. The clock was fast last time, but I did start the meeting at 7 o'clock and 10 seconds precisely. I like that noted for the record. And if we go to page, just small things, but the next couple are kind of important. Okay, on Z-23, page 7, Z-23-18, 7 Appleby Farm Road. Right down here where it says, Ms. Temple stated that there are hardships presented by the land as well as location of existing septic system. I also, as soon as she stated that, I'd like to add in, the chairman asked the chairman, Mr. Donnelly, verified with Commissioner Tempner that the hardships were a unique shape of property, and I double checked it in the video, and the septic system. And that's on 7 Appleby Farm, Z-23-18. So I'd like to note that for the record because it was the hardships, please. And then the very last thing, I think it's on the very last page. Oh, okay. Where it says Chairman Donnelly discussed opportunities for additional commissioner training and handed copies of the case law that he found useful. I'd like to add that were researched by Commissioner Temple, because it did state that for the record. And
What page was that, Mr. Chairman?
the last page, 8 of 8, Madam Secretary. And that's all I have.
Thank you.
Everybody else has? All right,
Motion.
motion, take a motion to approve the
Yeah.
minutes as amended.
Yeah, motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Review of correspondence, anybody have anything on that? Everybody okay with that? I don't have anything on that. Okay, so we're gonna move to, 4, continue public hearings, A, which is 52 Candlewood Lake Shores Road, Z-23-7. And I'm gonna state, this is proposed activity, add a second floor and decks. Could the applicant or proponent of the applicant please come forward, state your name and address for the record, and tell us about your appeal in detail. Feel free to come right on up, if you'd like.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there a mic that I should be speaking?
Just anywhere, we can hear you.
All right, I'm Karen Carpenter. I'm an architect and the agent for the client. And I'm here for 52 Candlewood Shores Road.
Karen, could you get your address, please?
My address is 2 Elwell, E-L-W-E-L-L Road, New Fairfield.
Thank you.
My client would like to, they've recently purchased this home and they want to add a second story under the existing home. The front portion, there's a front bump out on the house which is already non-conforming, and they want to add the second story over the non-conforming part. That's part of the variance. The other part is they want to add decks onto the lake side, which is the eastern side of the house. And those both are needing variances. It's an irregular shaped lot. It's a non-conforming lot, and it's a steep lot, are the hardships that they are facing right now. And it's also a corner lot, which is also makes it harder to fit what they want to fit. Does anyone have any questions of me as to what they're trying to do? Or?
I was gonna see, was there any last minute correspondence? Yeah, I didn't see
Whatever's
it.
in the file.
I did speak to the woman who's uphill of them, and
Is that on Mountain View Drive, ma'am?
yes, and I'm sorry I didn't catch her name. It was an 80-year-old woman, and she just called because she received the letter and she wanted to know what was going on there, and she was unable to attend the meeting tonight. And I explained how they were gonna add a second story and then a deck on the water side of it, and she was very grateful that they weren't tearing down the house and, as in her words, building a monstrosity, and they're very much trying to keep it into the scale of the neighborhood, and just add a second story to it and get a deck to be able to take advantage of the views.
Thank you very, very much. Mr. Loeb or your fiancée Megan, would you like to say anything before we take any questions?
Just pretty much say, we're excited to live in the area. Everyone seems extremely nice.
Can you just get your name, ma'am? I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Ryan Logue,
L-O-G.
The owner of the property.
the owner of
And
the
your
property,
fiancée?
and my fiancée Megan Fitzgerald.
Thank you. Welcome to the ZBA.
Thank you so much for having us. Just excited to move to the neighborhood. Very excited. We both love the water, and it's kind of a dream to be close to it. So we're trying to make that dream come true. That's it.
Thank you. Do you have anything else? Will we?
No, go ahead.
Okay. At this time, there's no correspondence to the record. I'd like to ask if any of the members have any questions, comments.
Is this was continued from last month?
Well, they have it on there.
It was
Well-
on the.
Yes, it was on there, but
We didn't get to it, or?
They
Right, they asked for
they weren't present,
continuance.
so we had a
I see.
continuance for it.
What happened was I did not mail in the letters to the neighbors, and it was my error, so we delayed it, so I could have that.
any questions from any members?
So the hardship is basically the size of the lot, the shape of it.
Corner lot, steep, non-conforming.
So is it, the current house is non-conforming, is it?
Correct.
Just the
That front bump.
the front line, so the other requests for
For the
the
deck.
sidelines, those would be new?
Those new
that
because of
were-
the deck.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay.
present whenever you have done. Jen, do you have any questions?
No, not yet.
Okay. I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
I'm gonna ask one or two questions first, and then I'm gonna ask you to come forward. Thank you very, very much for allowing me to go out to your house. I went out, I think it was back in February, that I went out there and looked at it, so I appreciate you letting me walk the property.
You're welcome.
Okay, first question. The deck. Is there a way, okay, because as I look at it, and I'm gonna read,
Yeah.
you had a correspondence with Michelle?
Yes.
Okay, back and forth with Michelle. I don't have to read the whole thing in the record, but it's basically, you need, it's 6, 1, 2, 3, 4 total variances. Let me read her. Yeah, did everybody get Michelle's email?
Yeah.
It was from Miss Carpenter, they went back and forth on there. I can read it in the record, it says, Dear Karen, she's just, responding to you. I'm looking over your application, I see the house is pre-existing, common, non-conforming structure in that is 13.3 feet from the front yard line. Also, the lot itself may be pre-existing non-conforming because even though you have a raw 11,306 square feet, zoning regulations discount the square footage by subtracting any portions of the lot less than 50 feet wide. Notwithstanding the possible non-conformance of the lot, for that concern does not impact the fact that you will need 4, not 2, so a total of 4 variances. That's what you're requesting of us today. Does that sound correct, ma'am?
To be honest with you, going to the square footage part,
Mhm.
I had her get in touch with the surveyor who had calculated all the square footage, and I thought that he had worked it out with her that it wasn't gonna need the variance for that, but, if, you know, if it was, they figured out between us that it did need it, then,
Well, let me go over the variances that are requested, ma'am, and you
Sure.
can verify it with me. So the first one is,
oh, the vertical expansion is one.
yeah,
Okay.
that's one down.
That, okay, then, you're right. There's, on the side, left side, there's 2 variances
Correct.
there, and then the vertical expansion is the other one.
That's 3.
And then the front, so that's the 4th. I thought you were going into a square
No,
footage
no,
one.
it's okay. And the front one that's to repair of the steps and stuff for safety,
Right,
so that's the front stairs, front
Mhm.
stairs/steps.
mm-hmm, well, it's for that and also building over the existing bump out,
Yeah, okay, that
Yeah.
you're there, gotcha. That which would be the second floor,
correct?
slash second floor. Okay. Mind if I go over a few things on the map? You can come forward, Mr. Loder, if you like.
Sure.
It's up to you. It's your house.
Thank
You'll
you.
probably recognize it really well. And then is it okay if I, is it okay if I look at your house on Google Earth?
Of course,
You mind?
yeah.
Okay, come on for it. All right, so when I walked out, you can come on.
Sorry.
So when I went out and I walked up the house, the biggest thing I wanted to point it out was, I guess, the lay of the land. The angles in the back here. And I went back out February 25th, I went out there, but I also ran over there, I think it was Sunday or whatever, just.
Yeah,
a couple
you called
check-
me, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
because it was back in
Yep.
February that I was out
No
there.
problem.
But would you guesstimate, you might be better at this, but I took a rough guesstimate, so between here and there, this is anywhere from a 50 to like a 70-degree slope in the back. I mean, it starts really, really steep here and slightly gentles up, but it's maybe 70 down to 50 degrees. So it's a pretty heavy slope in the back
Yes.
there.
Yes, it is.
Okay, I did check with the town, and I'm gonna pull it out here, about the septic. Tell me if this looks accurate. This is a septic as-built. So in the front right, or the front east side of your property, somewhere over here is the septic tank,
Yes, correct.
more or less. And then there's septic fields, kind of just following along, I don't know, where that, it's kind of a little piece of yard before it starts going uphill over there.
Mhm.
Does that sound about right?
Since this was done, they purchased that back piece.
Okay, but I'm just
The
verifying
existing.
the location of the
Yes,
existing
yes.
septic tanks in the field. So it's kind of on the west and a little bit northwesterly, or east, east, northeasterly side of the property. But that looks accurate to you?
Yes, yes.
All right,
I should tell you that Ralph Gallagher is doing a B100
okay,
to, look into and utilizing this back portion to what he's and he's doing that this week is the B100
let me give it
to,
to you. So So the tank is somewhere around here, and the fields go back
Correct in there.
off. It's not a good drawing, but it's more or less there,
Yeah.
right? Okay, and what, he's thinking about B100, which is like a reserve
Correct.
for back over in this area
Correct.
somewhere?
Mm-hmm.
Have fun on that steep hill.
I know.
Yeah, they had an excavator and everything in there checking it. And
Yeah, that's a pretty steep hill in the back there. Okay, so that looks pretty good. You have, there's kind of some rock wall, there's a rock wall over here, the front of the house, number 54, that house is there, directly across the street from you is 63, this is 57, and I think that's like 55 back over there. Does this look fair, it looks
Yes.
fairly accurate to you?
Yes, looks great.
Okay, thank you. Next question. I checked, and I just wanted to note for the record, okay, with the land use office, and there are no other variances on files for, I just did for the closest neighbors. So this is on Canwood Shores Road. So 46, 48, 50, 54, 55, 57, and 63 do not have any existing variances as of right now. I was just doing due diligence on it, following up to see if anybody else around there had any variances, and at least none of those numbers did. It's basically everybody around there. Next question I have. Would it be possible, and you tell me, so the deck on the westerly side of the property, is it possible to shrink that deck down a little bit? If we did approve the variance for you today, and we were able to have the second floor in the house, so the deck on that side, you're asking for, I think it's like 1'6", and then, or excuse me, 1'5" and 5'5", that's structured to the left sideline, or the westerly side of the property?
would that be here? I'm sorry.
So this is,
Yes.
this is the one where we bumped out for the stairs, that little piece.
Right. Would
And
it-
then
would
this
it
part
be-
is for that.
Yeah, what I'm asking is it a possibility to consolidate a little bit, because a deck is a deck, you know, it's not part of the house, you're adding on.
I think our original thinking on it was just that the steps leading up to that second flight was to
Mhm.
like give enough of a landing,
Mhm.
and then it was the reason why we kind of kept the lower one the size that it is to kind of keep the look of it
Yes,
aesthetically looking square and even.
it's a two-story
It's-
deck, right?
Yeah, the other one is set back somewhat.
The 1'5" is
The
on the
one
first
further
floor of the
above.
deck, and the 5'5" you need is on the second floor of the deck?
Correct, sir.
Okay.
If, these stairs were added in to get access, and in order to avoid this, they would have to pull this way, but then it gets into hitting that retaining wall that runs in the back,
Mhm.
which is why they got bumped this way, so that it wasn't hitting the retaining wall.
Well, my question, and I'll ask Ms. Carpenter this, is it possible, is it a possibility to slightly, maybe shrink a little bit the size of
For
the
the- for
deck
this
so
here.
that you wouldn't need the left side variance? It's only a first floor deck, it's 1'5", that doesn't seem very difficult, and then the 5'5" on the second floor, is it a possibility? I know nobody wants to, but is it a possibility?
The only factor I would see, just, Mr. Chairman, would be just what I mentioned with pushing the steps back. I just don't want it to like get too tight to that retaining wall and then start causing an issue. And then, as I say, it kind of throws off the post position, and because the post alignment for the supports below are all kind of somewhat aligning based on that upper deck as well. So that would be the only thing that would kind of throw everything, like it would end up throwing everything off position and changing the whole shape of that side of the deck as well. That would be the only,
It would be a little bit small.
yeah, because of this, the way that we're trying to support it to make sure it's strong and lasts forever
I understand that.
is the way that we are building it with supports in the concrete and everything. That would be my only concern, and it's kind of partially because of that stone wall and everything too, because we did go back and forth quite a few times. As I say, we're honestly trying to build something that people can walk past and go, wow, that's a beautiful house, and you know, and that was part of it, and we didn't want to sacrifice moving stuff back and having to cut away walls and
Can I ask Ms. Carpenter, I'd like to ask Ms. Carpenter?
of course, I'm sorry.
Since you designed it, right?
Correct.
Is it possible to eliminate those two variances, the 1'5" and the 5'5", and still have safe access to the decks? Just gonna rephrase it differently. In other words, you know, compact it a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit, but have it still be safe and useful and everything else. That's my
To
question.
be safe, yes, I mean, they could eliminate part of that retaining wall in the back and have to regrade the back to be able to move the stairs
That's
this
for that
direction.
1'5".
That's the 1'5". The 5'5", they would have to be just making the deck smaller.
The second floor one you're talking about?
Um,
5'5" is for the,
so this is 4.5 currently
okay.
to this corner,
You
so,
need 10, right?
yeah, so that would be the 5.5, so it'd be cutting off this corner of the deck.
But is that the first or second floor deck?
This is the first floor deck.
Okay, so both of those are on the first floor deck, the one,
This is the line of the second floor deck up
Okay.
here, and
okay.
then this is the setback line that, you know, is current.
Yeah,
And so if we were to cut off this corner,
mhm.
it would still be safe, yes, to
Could
answer your
this,
question.
am I allowed to write on this?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Could this come forward that you only need 1'5", right here?
Correct.
Okay, I don't know, I'm not sure of the distance here, cause I don't know the scale. But
Correct.
if that came forward, you may not even have to touch this retaining wall.
Well, if they're gonna have to be able to walk by it, you know, to get by it there, but like I
But you
said,
wanna have a path.
you wanna be able to walk around it without having to climb the retaining wall to get around it.
Mhm.
So that was just trying to keep it so that you could walk by it.
Yeah, I just don't know what the space is there. Do you know that space, where
Well,
it is?
it's right now, it's about, this is 3'6", so this is about 2 feet, so you could just scoot by it, you know?
It's a couple feet now, so if you
Yeah.
pushed it forward, it would be tight.
Yeah, they would have to take the retaining wall and regrade it back there.
Regraded that right there.
Mhm.
Okay, that was a question that I had.
And then this part, I mean, your question was, would it be safe to take this part off? Yes, you could certainly make it safe.
That's
Um,
on the second
the-
one, the 5'5"
The
one?
5'5", I mean, they could do it and it would be safe, it would be a smaller deck.
Okay, but it's still, it would be safe, it would be useful.
Yeah, I mean, it would be, they're a young couple who would like to start a family and have their family sitting out there, and he looks like a strong guy who could have a big family. I'm a mother of 5. I know it's not hard to build a deck, but, I mean, could they do it and keep it safe? Yes, but, it would be not as ideal, which is why we're here asking for the variance.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Do you wanna mention the other part?
Sure. You have the floor, Ms. Lewis.
Well, about the neighbor,
Oh, yeah, about the land swap?
yeah.
Yeah, I had suggested, and I did speak to all my neighbours and kinda introduced myself, which I feel is always the proper thing to do.
Number
when you move
54,
in.
is that the neighbor you're talking about? Right
Uh,
directly next door to you?
The one
yes,
that this
correct,
variance
yeah.
would mostly-
Anna, her name is Anna.
Right.
Sorry, I was brain boggled there for a second. Anna, so I did speak to her, and like, really lovely lady, like, introduced myself as I say. So I know that I had mentioned to Karen, like, worst case if I obviously don't want to do it, but I had hoped maybe I could go to her and suggest a possible little land swap to like take that couple of feet away, and then there's no variance required,
Well,
but
they're already using part of his property,
they are, yeah.
and so,
Probably a pre-existing non-conforming, I'm guessing, okay?
and
Yeah,
so
per
she's
wall.
using, well, maybe they could just swap that little piece and then they wouldn't need the variance for it, cause they're already using part of his property. But our first attempt is to come here.
I understand.
And no neighbors have any problems?
No, the neighbor back here, this neighbor
54?
this neighbor called me, yeah, and they said they were gonna write a letter, I didn't, but they thought it was great and they were all for it, and then like I said, then I talked to the woman who is here and, one of these houses, and the 80-year-old woman, and again, I'm sorry, I was out
On Mountain
That's
View, on
on
Mountain
Mountain
View.
View, and she, she was just grateful that it wasn't gonna be a huge house, and I said to just add it as, and she was great with it, so. Those are the only two communication, and then as you said, you talked with Anna as well.
I have one last question for you, so
Of course.
you might know the answer to.
Hope so.
Okay, this is Google Earth, we're gonna just,
Yes.
I'm gonna zoom down and I'm gonna stare at your house on Google Earth here.
Yep.
Okay, so there's the intersection. I come forward. My question that I have here is, you know the buffer of the trees and stuff? Let me come down a little bit farther so you can see. So if you look back, you see how you got, there's that neighbor, which I think is 54.
That's Anna,
That's-
yeah.
That's 54. Okay, you see how you have a buffer, I mean, you may have to take some trees out here, but there's kind of a buffer here?
Yes.
with the growth and stuff like that, is that going to remain, or?
I will most likely remove it, which Anna actually voiced to me her delight that I would.
So she wants you to,
She was very happy. She says the leaves are like,
these two trees are probably gonna go?
yeah,
Those two
yeah.
trees are gonna go,
Yeah,
probably the one out, basically everything here is gonna go?
For the most part, yeah.
Some
Okay.
of those trees are in poor health too.
Yeah, there's two of them are half dead. I already had them looked at. Like the one hanging over the house,
Yeah.
not specifically. Can I touch this?
Sure,
Is that all right?
go ahead,
Sorry.
go ahead.
This one here is half dead. The part that's hanging over the house
Dangerous.
is dead.
It's gotta go. Yeah,
Gotta
I
go.
gotcha.
But yeah, the shrubbery. I mean, we haven't really. I leave that up to the missus to decide.
Okay.
You know,
What about
I
on the
don't have
easterly
a-
side of the, are these trees in still good shape, or might they have?
Yeah, I just actually noticed today. There's one we popped over just quick, and there was a couple I noticed. Obviously, in these pictures, it's hard to tell, but
Yeah, and this.
now
this
that
might
they're
be
starting to
older
grow
pictures.
out, the tail's getting told which ones are alive and which aren't. So,
Okay.
at the moment, not specifically.
Okay.
I know a neighbour voiced to me, "Oh, I would love if you took those down." I says, "I have no idea what I'm doing yet with it," but and that was a gentleman up the hill that I also talked to as well, and was delighted. I told him the plan and everything, and he was very happy to hear what we were doing with the property. And he was further up on the corner. He was on actual Candlewood Shores Road,
Mhm.
but on that corner of Mountain View, right on the corner.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I mean, it would seem to me that there could be adjustments made to deal with the non-conforming aspects of the deck. My question is, how do we deal with this, non-conforming, stipulation regarding the second floor? That seems to be the bigger challenge, because
Right.
following this, the email that specifies that, that no non-conforming structure, it can be roofed over, enclosed, extended, or expanded, or altered in any vertical or horizontal direction.
Yeah, that's 1/6 Bravo
Right.
1D in the
Right.
regulation book.
So that's very clear, very specific, so to me, the biggest challenge is if we're gonna think of a hardship, sufficient hardship to outweigh that, restriction. I guess that's, to me, the challenge here.
Anything else you'd like to ask them?
Yeah, I guess.
I mean,
Yeah.
what the problem is again, it's an irregular shaped lot, so to be able to, just get the space that they need to have a family, it's a very old house, and, there aren't any other good places to really put it. And this way, but going over that little portion, it doesn't bother any of the neighbors in terms of their views, and it maintains the style and the proportions of the rest of the
Yeah,
neighborhood.
I can see that. What's the, so the current house is, how many bedrooms in the current house?
The current house is 2 bedrooms.
Two, so then with the addition, that would extend it to
It will go up to 3 bedroom.
three?
And the septic
Is being designed this week, but the septic engineer said he didn't see any issue with going to a 3 bedroom.
And you were gonna
With a
look for a
B100.
B100, which is a reserve for the septic
Correct.
system.
Mhm.
I have a question for him.
Yeah.
Okay. Would it be fair to say, I don't wanna put any words in your mouth, but would it be fair to say that it's difficult, like if you just took the house right now and you wanted to expand it to the west or to the east? To the west, I clearly see that it's difficult, because you got the septic system there and the irregular shape of the property. But what about to the east?
To where
Let's
the,
say-
to
let's-
where the deck is currently.
Yeah, listen, would it be difficult to say, okay, keep the house one level, okay, comply with the code on that part of it? Obviously, you can't build to the right because you got the septic system there and stuff, and in the back seems pretty difficult to me too because of the topography, the steep grade and stuff. But what about the east? It's just a question, what's the difficulty if you wanted to build east?
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm just thinking that 1.6 kind of says you can go any which way.
Well,
Yeah,
up,
well, no, it specifies 1.6 says any vertical or horizontal
Oh.
direction, it wouldn't matter. They would
Forget
still
my
need
question.
variance.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Well, but it says, I think it says,
yeah, I was looking at the D1, any non-conforming building or structure can be strengthened, restored, or replaced, however, no portion of existing building or structure that is non-conforming, as to the second,
let's see,
we gotta read the regulation.
Oh, help me to
no,
understand, that's what the
I don't
ZBA
think that applies, I think you could add, because it says, no portion of an existing building or structure that is non-conforming. So it isn't, the whole building isn't non-conforming, a portion of it isn't. So you can't do anything with the portion that's non-conforming, but you could
Something
add
with the portion that is
that is
conforming.
conforming, right.
So you could build
So you
To
could
the
do,
east.
right, right.
towards the lakeside if you wanted
Right.
to. Questions?
I'm still trying to wrap my head around, so non-conforming building or structure can be strengthened, restored, or replaced, however, no portion of an existing building or structure.
That is non-conforming.
No, it's the portion that is non-conforming is what it's referring to.
So he's specifying because the east side of the building isn't currently non-conforming,
Is it?
only the
Okay.
front is non-conforming,
Okay.
then you could.
Okay.
Right, you could go east,
Yeah,
basically, you could build east.
Seems like-
West you can't build, I don't think you can build north on that property from looking at it. You can't build
I wonder,
towards-
I suspect that if we were to go east, that we would be getting into impervious coverage issues.
You
And,
mean the percentage of the property on the
Correct.
land itself there?
the square foot of the area you're saying would be.
Correct.
Mm.
and that's one of the reasons I kept to just going over the existing footprint, was to not mess with it. I have a question for you, and it just, as I understand it, and please correct me if I'm wrong, coming to a zoning board of appeals is to ask for exceptions to the current code.
Correct, hundred
And,
percent correct.
and so I understand that the code states that, that they don't want you to do vertical expansion over a non-conforming area. And so, do you grant,
Well,
variances in that particular case, or?
Yeah, I'll try to explain to you the best we can. So when we grant a variance, it stays with the land in perpetuity, so it's there forever.
Correct.
When we look at it, there has to be a very, very good exceptional difficult. There's gotta be something, there's gotta be an exceptional difficulty, a hardship, because there's a very high bar, because of the fact that we're granting it and it stays on the land forever.
Correct.
So we're just looking at this, and we're looking at it with the code, and then we also have to take in consideration what the Connecticut general statutes say.
Correct.
And we do the best that we can. So that's,
I
I hope that answers the question as
It
best
does.
as I can answer it.
I specialize in historic preservation, and so, I'm very keen, I've lived on the lake for 40 years, and having something that fits into the community, and not, a lot of our other architects have, built things that aren't conforming to the scale and the size of the other, lake community architecture, and I've worked really hard to keep this in the scale and the keeping of the community, and to me, having it go over the existing was keeping it architecturally in keeping with the design of the area, and not messing with the impervious coverage, and that is how I came using the space above that bump out is the best way to describe
I
it.
have a follow-up question for you, Ms. Cook.
Okay.
And you've driven the neighborhood around there and you've looked at it. Would it be fair to say that there's other houses, and I look at it because there's ranches, raised ranches, there's colonials, there's kind of farmhouses, but there's some that have second floors, some that don't have second floors. Would it be fair to say that if it did have a second floor, it would be in keeping with the character of the neighborhood? I don't wanna put words in your mouth, ma'am, you tell me.
That was my question, that's exactly, took the
Yes,
words right out of my.
I think that is keeping it in the proportions that it is keeping it more in the style of the lake community that it is, and instead of having a large sprawling contemporary, trying to make
Building
use-
out to the east towards the,
Yes,
You see the challenge is, we can't make aesthetic choices.
I know
And,
you
you know,
can't.
so, if I were building a house, looking at the design I just saw, yeah, that looks like the most appealing way to do it, rather than having a one-story extended out to the east. Problem is, we have to base this on hardship, so, you know, if it's possible to do it a different way, even if it's unattractive, that.
I get that, and that's why I bring up the
that's
impervious
dilemma, but,
coverage.
yeah,
And it's
yeah.
as the commission,
And it's a good, right.
yeah, as Commissioner Briggs just said, it has to be a unique hardship. That's the law.
Okay, so
But you
let's
should- but
define
that may
unique
be-
hardship.
But if that creates a different issue in terms of the square
It's
footage property.
Shape of
that,
the property and it's the square footage,
Then
those are
that
the
would be an
unique-
option, so that.
I mean, it's a corner lot, it's odd shape, it's non-conforming, it's steep.
Yeah,
Those are all I see as the hardships for this
yeah,
particular.
that's true.
project.
Yeah. Mhm.
But when, Mr. Chair, when you bought the house, you were aware it was a two-bedroom, so you went in for a two-bedroom. Obviously, I understand that you want to have 3 bedrooms, but when you bought the house, there were only 2 bedrooms, so the hardship is not, you know, the original move
I understand what you're
happened with 2 bedrooms, accepting the 2 bedrooms as,
Well, so let's say they just kept it at 2 bedrooms. They would be very small bedrooms he's going, I mean, it's a small house in
Yeah.
today's standards as it is, so I mean,
okay.
you could easily go over the space and keep it at a 2-bedroom, and that he's more than willing to do. It's just, I don't think it's the number of bedrooms that's the issue, it's just trying to get the space to make it, the house usable, you know.
And I guess there isn't a way to add a second story over the conforming part of the first story structure that would make any aesthetic or use sense to it.
It would be, you know, again, it would be smaller and questionable whether it's worth it, you know, because it's such a small area.
I have a real quick question for Mr. Lally. Fran, the max building height, is this 30 feet, is that correct?
Correct.
In the area, and they're asking for 25.65? 25.65. Okay, does anybody else have any questions? Janet, do you have any questions?
Well, you asked the question that I was, are there no letters from the, neighbors?
I do not,
They're
File
all
right
in
there.
agree.
We'll
Yeah,
double-
I mean,
we'll double check.
putting in an addition, I'm sorry?
I'm gonna double check that right now, Janet.
Yeah,
I don't believe so, it wasn't in my.
I don't have anything.
Unless anything came last minute, I'm gonna double check.
We just had phone calls,
Yeah.
was all the way.
Ms. Carpenter just explained the phone calls with a couple of the nice lady that lives up on Mountain View.
And then the one behind him on that Mountain View as well.
Okay.
He said he was around there, but.
So what is the hardship? What is the
She's
hardship
asking you to just
here?
please explain
Okay.
the hardship. again.
Sure, the hardship is, it's a corner lot, it's an odd-shaped lot, it's a steep lot, and it's a non-conforming lot. It's a challenging lot anyway, I've been doing this for 50 years. It's a challenging lot, you know, just by the nature of those different items. Can you hear me?
You
Yes,
hear,
I could.
Okay, just
Yes, I
checking.
could, yes,
Thank you.
any further questions?
No,
At this time, I'd like to ask if there's anyone that would like to speak in favor of the application.
Other than us. Okay.
We know you're in favor. Hearing none, at this time, I'm going to ask if there's anybody that would like to speak in opposition to this application. Hearing none. Okay? Anybody have any last second questions before I ask for a motion? Okay?
Do they have any closing?
Yeah, oh yeah, thank you very much. Ma'am?
well, I have a
And-
question, actually, sorry.
Sure, go ahead.
Just following up what you were asking about, Mindy. Were you aware when you bought the property of the possible, non-conforming features of it and how that would potentially limit or restrict what you could do with the property?
I can honestly say wholeheartedly no. We just honestly, we had been looking for a while in the area. You know, I visited Candlewood Lake about 4 to 5 years ago with a few friends and fell in love, and I was like, obviously me and Maggie came up, we were looking around and we saw the house, and I was
Love
like, I gotta have the mustard house. It's, we spoke about it, and it was great. You know, it had a beautiful fairy tale story with it. You know, the lady that lived there previously, like, you know, her father built it from scratch. Like I have a little bit of the history, which is kind of nice. And we didn't. I'm sorry, I'm talking around going on too much, but just no. Honestly, we didn't. We just fell in love with the area and everything around the area and the lake itself and the views and everything was just beautiful. And as I said earlier, we're just excited to live there.
Any other questions? Any follow-ups to that? Okay. At this time, you have the closing remarks, Mr. Carpenter, and obviously, both of you guys have the closing remarks. If there's anything you'd like to say.
I appreciate you hearing us and your careful consideration, and having them be able to build this house and make it what they need is really important to them. And if there's any concessions that you feel that we would need to make to be able to allow part of this or not part of this, we'd be willing to do whatever concessions you feel that need to. But ideally, this is what would be best for them in starting their home, and I feel for the community and the keeping it, architecturally keeping with it, which I understand is not perfect, but along with the impervious coverage, not extending the impervious coverage would be what would be best.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lowe and Megan, you may speak too now.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm excited to join the community. This is like our first introduction, so it's so nice to meet all of you, and we're happy to, tell our story. I've had a chance to walk the neighborhood and take in some of the different types of, architecture, and obviously a lot of the homes in our neighborhood are so beautiful and have gone, to me, they're immensely beautiful, like huge and beautiful. So construction is new to me. I'm not in the construction field, but so I would be, I've been listening and following along with Karen and Ryan. So to me, I was coming in here very positive, just seeing like all the modern, tasteful things that I've seen walking around. So excited to jump in and hopefully make some memories soon. And we do need the space. We just got news our 25th niece or nephew is on the way.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lowe, you have the floor, sir.
I just personally want to thank you all for taking the time. I know you visited the site, and I want to thank you for respecting us and our privacy, even calling me to ask permission, which I don't think you needed to do, but I fully respect that. And thanks for taking the time to hear our opinion.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much, sir. All right. I will take a motion to close the public hearing on Z-23-17, 52 Candlewood Shores Road.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Put this right here. Yeah. Next one. Okay, moving on to public hearing, 20 Station Road. We do have some correspondence with this, and Mahini has agreed to read this email into the record.
I did not get that, Mr. Chairman, so I don't know.
I know, that's why we're reading it into the record right now, Janet.
Okay.
Okay.
Fran and Amy, I would like to withdraw our application for ZBA approval for the 20 Station Road site. Thank you. Alan Rothman.
All right. Okay,
Oh,
so Z-23-17 is withdrawn. Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, Z-23-22, thank you very much. 20 Station Road is withdrawn. Okay, we're ready to go into deliberations. All right, wait, I'm gonna take a motion. I'd like to take a motion, and we're going into, these are closed deliberations, open to the public. So I'd like to take a motion to approve Z-23-17, 52 Candlewood Shores Road as submitted.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All right, discussion.
I think there's ample hardships present between the existing non-conforming structure, the lot size. I mean, we can see from this that there's really not a lot of space for them to work with within the setbacks on the map. I don't think they're asking for too much. The, what is it, the 1.5 was a matter of safety with the staircase being close to the retaining wall.
But they said that that was doable, but they would have to move the retaining wall a little bit. But the second one, I guess, was not a problem
Yeah,
to cut back.
the one that I have, I guess the biggest holdup on is the,
Vertical
the,
expansion.
no, not even, the 4.5, because of the,
The side,
the side,
corner
the,
one?
yeah, the 5.5 variance requested because
Yeah,
they
that
said
one.
they
so that if
could
they cut the,
trim the deck back.
the-
Yeah, they said they could take that off and it would
Yeah.
still be safe.
right.
Yeah, the vertical expansion, I'm actually okay with, again, because of, like they said, with the square footage and the odd shape.
Impervious coverage.
Yeah,
if they went
and the odd
east.
shape of the property. I mean, if they're moving east, would you still run into setback issues anyway? It's not, like, they might get around the 1.6, but if they expanded east, they might end up bumping into the rear setback regardless and still need a variance, so I'm not sure that there's a way to do that without granting a variance of some sort. And the vertical expansion, as they were saying, seems like it's the most like the other towns in the area, or the other houses in the area.
Richard? Sir?
Yeah, I think, there's enough justification in terms of hardship to support it. I mean, it's, you know, particularly as you, sorry, is it Ryan?
Ryan, yeah.
As Ryan was saying that, and to Naheed's point, they weren't aware of the limitations when they bought the place. It's only later that then, when they were trying to figure out how to expand it, that then they came up against that limitation. So, definitely, it sounds like the size of the bedrooms and the size of the square footage of the house would make it really problematic, particularly if you wanted to have a family. So, and aesthetically, it certainly makes the most sense. So I would, yeah, I think, I guess the question of whether or not, the approval should include the stipulation of modifying
The deck.
the deck is the question.
I think it can be modified at least there. I wanted to hear what everybody else's thoughts were.
So I actually did have reservations on the vertical, but like you said, they were not aware of it, and the hardships are such. I don't have a problem with the deck, because if we're gonna do it, then we might as well do it. If there, you know, it needs to, I know aesthetics is not part of our thing, but I would feel bad just, you know, protecting that little thing when we're giving away, you know, the variance. So to me, if the variance is given, it would be, I'm comfortable with everything together.
Janet?
Like Naheed, I thought the vertical would have been a problem, and aesthetics is something that I would look for. You don't wanna put a lot of money into a house and not make it look good. And if the neighbors, I mean, Mr. Chairman, you went out and looked at the property.
Yes, I did, twice.
I don't know how many neighbors are around there. Is it blocking a view? Is it, and the neighbors didn't
No.
write in? I guess they didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, if he spoke to them, then I guess they didn't mind it being a vertical. I would have thought that would have been the problem.
There doesn't seem to be any, neighboring opposition to it. If anything, although we don't have letters, but I guess by word of mouth, the report is that they
Yeah.
would prefer it or like it, and certainly don't object.
Right, right.
So,
I'd
But
like-
if they didn't, if a neighbor objected, I'm sure they would have wrote a letter, right?
I would assume, yeah.
I think so.
Mhm.
here's my thoughts on it, and I did go out and look at it twice. They clearly have hardships on the property. It's a very unique shape of property. One of the biggest hardships is the north and the eastern side, and you can just drive by and you can see it, but this slope from here, and it gets worse. It starts at about, you can see the grade here, where the lines are. It's probably 50 degrees uphill that way, but it gets to like 70 degrees. I mean, it's like this down in the back, and that's a pretty wide swath of the back northeast of the property. So they definitely have topography issues back there. They have the septic, right, this first little green circle, which I went over with them before, but right about there is where their septic tank cleanout is. So it's in the front right or front, you'd say southeast of the property, that's the septic cleanout. Directly behind there, which it must be squeezed in because of the hill back there, but that's where the septic fields are now. And then as they were explaining this to us, they wanted to save what they have that's usable back here is the B100 or in case you gotta build onto the septic. So you can't do anything here, you can't do anything here, definitely can't do anything here. It's east or up, but like Carl said, you're running into the same problem. If you start heading out that way, you've got variance problems. So it's just a really, really unique piece of property. I did drive the neighborhood. There's ranch here, ranch across the street. That's the 3 right across the street there. This is kind of a raised ranch. It almost looks like it has a second floor on it, but fairly new house here. Around the corner, there's some second-story houses. There's some over here, so it's not like it would be out of scope with the existing neighborhood. I do think they can do something on the deck. I don't like to give anybody a hard time on it. They definitely said, as we were speaking to them, that on the second one, the 5'5", they could take that off and still be absolutely safe. The 1'5" on the other part of the stack, the deck, is doable. They would have to do something with the stone wall. I mean, I'm okay with it as it is, but I'd like to take a stipulation and take either one or both of these variances off for the structure to the left side line, but I wanted to hear what everybody else feels, how everybody else feels about it, and how you guys. You're fine the way it is.
I'm fine the way it is.
Yeah, I think with how other people were weighed in on it, I'm fine with the application as submitted. I'm okay with the 5 feet on the deck. I think there's enough hardship regarding the lot size and the shape that it justifies the 5 feet.
How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of torn because, as you say, that they could make that change, and it wouldn't produce
still be
any
safe.
substantive problem, but on the other hand, we're not getting any objection, I guess, to that non-conforming feature from neighbors or anything else, so.
Right, I don't think they're.
We just don't know 10, 20 years from now. Another neighbor can move in next door and go, hey, why is that deck so high, so close?
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
Right, but again, I think it goes to the shape of the property, right? Like, the deck they're asking for is not some absurdly large monstrosity that they're trying to build as big as possible just for the sake of it. It's because of the property that
They're
it
working in it, and
happens
they're
that the
working in it on
corner
the east side, because
Right.
that's the only place they got to go.
Right, it's very much because of the shape of the property that the corner of the deck happens to inch over. I don't think it's them trying to squeeze out as big a deck as possible.
Shannon, how do you feel?
Doesn't seem.
Yeah, I think I agree with Carl.
Okay, we all ready to vote?
Sure.
Is everybody comfortable with voting? Jen, are you comfortable with voting?
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor of approving Z-23-17, 52 Canwood Shores Road as is application, say aye.
Hi.
Congratulations, it's unanimous.
Thank you very much.
Oh, and we're gonna list the hardships for the record, and if I forget any, remind me. Unique shape of property, the septic system to the east and the whole east side of the property, east, southeast, and up. And then obviously the topography. So unique shape of property, Yeah.
Pre-existing as well.
Pre-existing non-conforming on the existing part of the house now, yeah, so 4 of them.
And the steepness, did you say?
The topography.
Okay, yeah, sorry.
Yes, so topography, the septic system, the very unique shape of the property, and the pre-existing non-conforming as we have it right now.
It's also a corner lot, which is challenging, so,
Unique shape of property.
okay, we'll go with that. I'm not gonna argue.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you all
Thank
so
you
much.
very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Any other business?
Almost done. Yeah, let me grab my agenda.
Because I know there were late cases, but I didn't know if you wanted to wait till Lisa was here to.
Thank you all so much.
Have a good night.
Thank you, congratulations.
Okay.
Thank you very much. God bless.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for
Good
coming. Thank you. 6 old business, there's none. 7 new business is none. No tabled items. Informal discussion. Excuse me. This is review of section 5. This is our question we sent over. We actually got a response. Janet, do you have it in front of you?
I do.
Would you like to read the response from the zoning commission to our 5.1 Echo side yard setback none question we sent over?
This response to the ZBA is addressed to Alan Donnelly, our chairman, and it's dated April 13th, 2023. Dear Mr. Donnelly, thank you for your recent letter and information regarding zoning setback inconsistencies and other zoning issues in the town center district and adjacent zones. The zoning commission will be considering these suggestions as part of the update of regulations in the Brookfield zoning regulation manual. These updates may take some time as regulation changes may require legal review and a public hearing. We appreciate your concern and look forward to improved zoning relations. With best regards, Gary Goetz, Chairman, Brookfield Zoning Commission, Brookfield, Connecticut.
Thank you very much, Madam Secretary. So basically, they know about it, they have to do updates on it, it takes a little bit of time, and they appreciate us bringing it to their attention. So that's our response. Thank you, Madam Secretary.
You're welcome.
Moving on. Discussion of training cases decision, that was the Morikawa Zoning Board of Appeals, Town of Weston, and Jasser Zoning Board of Appeals. I was gonna make a suggestion, since Lisa Temple, Commissioner Temple, did the research on these and found these, and is our only lawyer here, that we would table this until the next meeting, so that maybe she could explain it, and then we could ask her questions on it. Does that sound okay for everybody?
Yeah, I
Very
concur. I
sensible.
concur.
Me too.
Okay, so, do we have to make a motion for that, or just?
It's informal discussion.
Okay, informal discussion. Last question, is there any other informal discussion that anybody has at all?
No?
Not that I can think of.
All right, would you like to make your favorite motion?
Oh, motion to close.
I'll take a second to adjourn.
We'll take out to the second.
All those in favor to adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you, Janet.
Commissioners.